The first thing you should know is that there are gods and goddesses. They are real. You may wonder if they are worshipped by humans. If you think they are, you would be wrong about that. Actually, humans despise their kind. But it probably does not make any sense. So let us start from the beginning.
You see, years ago, 4 lucky humans were given powers. The lucky four became the first gods, and no, not like Zeus or Hades. Their names were Alex, the god of time, Luke, the god of flames, Gal, the goddess of wind, and last but not least, Alice, the goddess of winter.
When the gods first came to be, they were worshipped by humans, but over time things began to change. Others also began to gain powers. Even the children of the four were given powers of their own. One of those few was a girl by the name of Winter.
The humans that were denied power became jealous and angry, and they began to hate the gods, feeling that it was only fair that they should be given powers too. Their hate led them to start the Dark War, a war that lasted for many years, so long that even Winter was old enough to join in the fight. No one was able to claim victory. They all lost in some way.
That's when the first four gods decided their kind would go into hiding. To prevent another war, they would hide their magic from humans and make sure their children did too. The school and villages of the gods would be hidden where no human could ever find them. While most gods stayed with their own kind, others, like Winter, left, thinking it would be better to raise their children among humans, in hopes of finding a way to one day reconcile with humankind.
After the gods went into hiding from the humans, the original four disappeared, never to be seen again. But at the same time, 2 children were born, who would one day change the world.
Winter went into labor one strange August day. Folks in the area were baffled by the freak blizzard that hit after several days of high temperatures. Clouds rolled in as if from nowhere, and snow began to fall, thick and heavy, as her labor progressed. The more intense the wind and snow, the more intense her labor got. By the time she gave birth, the weather had reached a pinnacle that suddenly came to a quiet halt.
Winter was holding in her arms a daughter with white and light blue hair. Just like her own, the child was pale as snow, yet had bright pink cheeks, and the world seemed to have transformed into a winter wonderland in only a few short hours. It seemed as though this new world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen.
Now you know that when babies are born, they often cry, but this tiny squirming infant began wiggling her nose and sneezed a few cute tiny sneezes that caused snowflakes to fall from the ceiling. Winter named her daughter Snow because her powers were the same as Winter's and Alice's had been. And knowing that everyone would remember the way the snow had fallen that day.
A few months with a new baby and tomorrow, Winter's powers began to subside and grew suddenly weaker. It was a few months before she realized she was once again pregnant, and she chalked up the change in her powers to the exhaustion from the baby and the second pregnancy. A year after Snow's birth, Winter went into labor again, which was different from her first. This labor seemed slow and difficult, and the weather stayed hot and dry.
Trembling all over, hair limp against her face with sweat, her baby was placed in her arms. Another, smaller baby girl this time, with plain black hair. And Winter was filled with disappointment when her sweet baby did not show any sign of having powers. Winter felt weak. She was not used to feeling hot, and tears seeped from her eyes as she named her second daughter, Olivia.
A month after Olivia's birth, their father left, storming out of the house in a rage, though no one never knew why. Snow was too small to remember anything about her father, and Winter never wanted to talk about him. It was just too painful for her.
Although Snow had many questions about why their father left, she kept them to herself. She loved her mother and was very close to Olivia, as sisters often were. No one can split the sisters apart, but Winter always seemed to be more loving and attentive to Snow. Although Olivia was often sad, she never blamed Snow for it.
Winter loved telling the girls stories about the gods, the friends she had made at school, and all the adventures she had had there. She made the stories seem like fairy tales, made up for children. But when they were alone, just Winter and Snow, she told Snow they were true stories. She said Snow needed to know because she was a goddess too. When Winter told them both the story of the Dark War, Snow was only 5 years old, and both girls knew she wasn't telling them a fairy tale this time. But Winter hid her part in the war from Olivia. At the end of her story, Snow asked her mother,
Mommy, I don't understand. Who was the bad guy in this story? Well, that's for you to decide.
Oh, please. It was clearly the god's fault.
Olivia always blamed the gods. If Snow had been braver back then she would have responded.
I don't really think it was anyone's fault.
Because she didn't think that it was, and she still doesn't.
As I said before, the gods went into hiding. So Winter taught Snow how to hide her powers. But she also took Snow to the woods next to their human village every weekend and taught her how to use them safely.
It was hard for Snow not to be able to tell Olivia the truth about what they were doing, but Olivia believed they were just exploring the woods, and she resigned her mother for the ways in which she treated her differently.
Feeling rejected by their mother, Olivia rejected Winter in return. She only liked to explore the woods with Snow, and was fine not going along with their mother when they went to the woods to secretly use their magic.
The years passed, and the humans assumed that the gods had all died out. But even so, most humans were still filled with bitter hatred and jealousy. Somehow, their children were not. But Winter warned Snow that most of those children would likely grow up to be the same as their parents, filled with hatred. Snow, however, never lost hope in humans.
Not long after Winter had told her daughters the story of the Dark War, she went into the woods one day, walked straight into a blizzard, and never came back.
10 years can pass in the blink of an eye, even with long days of searching the woods for some sign of life for a lost mother. But for those 10 years, Winter's best friend from school, Laura, had stepped in to care for the girls so that they were not alone. Laura continued to raise them among humans, most likely because it was what their mother had wanted. Yet Laura never seemed to mind it that much, living near humans. Since she had never had children of her own, she didn't have much of a reason to stay in Galca, a village of the gods where she had grown up. Even without children of her own, she made a great mom, especially to Snow.
Olivia, however, never forgot or forgave their mother for everything she had done. But even though she had disappeared without a trace, Snow could never find it in herself to hate her mother. Of course, that doesn't mean that she's not angry at her for leaving them. She just could never hate her.
And so that brings us to today. Snow is 14 years old and will be 15 in 3 days' time. When she turns 15, she will finally be old enough to attend the school of the gods that her mother had long described to Snow and her sister.